Patrons, subscribers, fans, followers from around the world, welcome to the IR4 podcast. It's me, Jeremy Alexander Newsom, in the little box with Mr. Brian Masterson and his adoring sister, Miss Shannon. I don't know your last name right now. Gotcha. Because I just thought about that. I was like, wait, her last name could change if she got married. Awesome. Well, today in this particular discussion, we are chatting about the future of Under Armour, the present of Under Armour. We're talking supply chain management. We're talking sports apparel, tech of apparel. It's going to be a phenomenal program. You're going to absolutely love it. You're going to learn a lot of good information. You're going to take away with some great quotes, some good brain food. Enjoy, and thanks for subscribing.
Explain to us how you got started with Under Armour and where you're at now and what you do for the company.
Yeah.
Sure. So I started with Under Armour in 2012. So I've been there for about 6 years.
Okay.
Started in supply chain, entry level, and have just kind of worked my way up the ladder over the past 6 years. So currently, I'm director of sales operations for our wholesale business. So the Dick's Sporting Goods, the Kohl's, the Amazons of the world.
So when you're doing entry level, what did that consist of?
Yeah, so entry level was really learning from the ground up, like how to manage an account's order bank, how to communicate when something's going to be late due to these sort of supply chain issues.
Right.
And it was working very closely with our sales team and then the merchants or the buyers from all of our customers or wholesalers, essentially. And yeah, just kind of managing the day-to-day in the level position.
And then and now you're in a position where you're essentially just managing the entire supply chain?
Not the entire supply chain. So I am essentially the last link of the supply chain, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of stuff that has to happen before the product gets, on the shelf at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
And what I do is I'm sort of the bridge between our accounts and our sales team and the whole front end of the supply chain.
That's insane. So
yeah, it is.
This was a question I wanted to ask, so I'm glad I finally can ask it. But let's walk through from fabric or whatever material it is to shelf. Because as naive as I am, I was like, oh, supply chain. You just track shipments. That's it. It's not hard.
That's all you do. That's simple.
I'm like, oh, blockchain solution, boom, done. Figured out. Next problem, let's solve it. But you're saying there is so much more that goes into supply chain, unbeknownst to me. So walk us through the process from, what would you call it? Product to shelf, or life to shelf, or how do you?
Yeah, I mean, the product life cycle is essentially from design to shelf, and everything that happens in between once you have that design finalized is each link of the supply chain along the way. So essentially what happens is you'll pre-plan, ahead for the next season or 2 seasons out, however far out. And step one, obviously, is the creative people, which is not me, make the designs and come up with shoes, shirts, shorts, whatever.
Yeah.
Once the designs have been signed off on and agreed upon, the first step is really the sample process. So what happens first is Under Armour will basically provide all of our vendors with what we call a tech pack.
A tech pack?
A tech pack, which is essentially all of the specifications on how to make any given garment. So every item we sell has specs around it with fabrics, the
cotton, spandex,
length, dimensions, everything. So first, the vendors will do a sample run, and they'll produce a small amount of goods.
And these vendors are international or domestic?
Mostly international. Blank has brought a little bit of footwear manufacturing back to Baltimore, just getting up and running these last couple of years. But most of our industry is produced.
Why do so many apparel companies and, well, not essentially sports companies, but apparel, shoes, they my batteries are on low. I'm going to get a charger here in a second, but you can answer this as I get a charger. But why are we going international to get all this stuff? Just cost effective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on international labor, but in my personal opinion, which I think there's some validity to, just based on what's in the news and stuff, is America just doesn't have a great infrastructure or trade skill,
That's true.
what word am I looking for? Workforce, yeah.
Right.
Or, most kids who are going to high school, you go to college, you go to find some sort of corporate job, or, whereas overseas, there's much more focus on the trades, educating and teaching people how to do those things at a young age.
I was listening to Peter Schiff, and he was agreeing that, think about just us, as Americans, you go to college, you take out insane debt, you get trapped in that debt. But where's all the trade work happening,
Yeah.
Learning things with your hands, and it's not here. So we either need to increase that or bring it back. But I'm sorry to throw you off topic, but internationally, you guys are outsourcing a lot of the just knitting, not knitting, but
the raw materials and the production.
Okay, so it's like sewing shit together and getting that all together, like that's...
Yeah, so if you want to go back to product life cycle, we'll do a sample run, ship all the samples to our sales reps, basically, who take all these samples to our customers and sell them an assortment of things. And whatever ultimately becomes the final line plan or the final assortment for that season is what will go into production. So as soon as that's set and we have orders from customers and we meet all of our vendors' requirements, there's things like minimum order quantities you need to hit. They're not going to just take 10 units of a hot pink tea because one customer wants it.
Yeah.
So, step one is really raw material procurement.
And you guys have your own internal software where you're tracking all this?
Yeah.
Or you guys use like Salesforce or some type of, like, how do you ensure that all that is being monitored from, again, the product life cycle? Like, can you go in and see the pipeline of where it's at, what's going on?
Yeah, so we have a few different software systems, but the one I'm most commonly in is SAP, which you will see mostly if you watch NHL hockey.
Yeah.
It's one of the Belgic sponsors. It's like a blue logo. And so that's kind of where most people see
Ernie
SAP.
Ellis is a PGA golfer. He's sponsored by SAP.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
They're a German company, but a lot of other companies in our industry are on SAP as well. So it's a pretty common platform, I think, for that kind of...
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, essentially, once you know what products need to be made...
Then you make them.
Orders,
Yep.
First step is to get the raw materials, fabrics, shoelaces, whatever. And oftentimes where you're getting those raw materials is not the same country or even the same continent where the stuff's actually going to be put together and made. So this is when you start to think about like true careers in supply chain, this is the sourcing team. So they're going out and finding where we can source our labor, our materials, and they look at things like there's certain countries who, if the raw materials come from country A, country B won't manufacture it. So there's a bit of a shell game.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And cost too, just shipping across different borders and things like that. But, so procure raw materials, get those over to the vendor that's making the goods. And the other tricky part, which not all companies have to deal with, some, like the Walmarts of the world who are very established, basically have their own vendors. They own the factories overseas. They don't have to compete with anyone for capacity, for production time, things like that. Our supply planning team, so that's kind of your next step after sourcing, supply planning works directly with all of our vendors to essentially flow our product in such a way to make sure the right stuff's getting out at the right time for the right customers.
Yeah.
Logistical nightmare, if you're asking me.
Man.
Oh,
I mean, for one person, sure. But I mean, you have a whole team, whole company of people. That's that's a challenge.
I wish I didn't know what the word supply chain even meant in college.
Yeah.
Right,
You know,
right.
but knowing what I know now, if you know how a supply chain works, you know how a business works. And
Yeah.
you could go start your own business, you could go plug in at almost any role in, you know.
That's a quote of the day. I love that quote. That's fantastic to know, because I mean, a lot of people. I had someone talk to me the other day because I have my fiance's, one of her best friends is going to college to study supply chain management. Like that's like her major.
What's cool?
I have no idea. Her name is Courtney. Yeah, I have no clue.
Penn State has a good program.
And she was, and I had another friend talking about that, and they're like, supply chain management sounds like the most boring thing in the world. And I'm like, well. It doesn't sound like invigorating, but without the supply chain of a business, you have no business.
And for anyone who says it's boring, I will say we have heard and seen almost every issue in the book when it comes to things that can go wrong, including like our vessels getting hijacked by pirates.
No way.
No.
So it's not always boring.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, our sneaker delivery got attacked by pirates.
Yeah, it was a footwear container too.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
So,
Yeah, because I mean, when you're thinking about this, we're talking when you're transporting raw materials from one continent to another continent or one country to another country, you're doing it through boat, you're doing it through. Do you guys use trains at all?
We'll use rail here in the States once the product hits at the port. But yeah, it's usually going to be on a boat most of the time.
Yep.
Sometimes on a plane if it's like an expedited
Right.
scenario.
So this is wicked cool. When I was in Baltimore a couple years ago, when you were first at Under Armour, I got a tour of their campus, of their facility, right? And they had like these secret chambers where they were testing new wave technology and stuff like that. I wasn't allowed to go in there because I wasn't an employee, but can you talk about, like, wasn't there a suit where, again, this is IR4 podcast, looking at new wave technology, wasn't there like a running suit where it would change colors or something? Or what's some of the new wave technology
Good question. Yeah, good question.
Is going on in Under Armour? You know, what are you guys trying to do to innovate the game?
Yeah, so that, what you're thinking of was a commercial a few years ago.
Yeah.
Which was sort of set in the future, if you will. It wasn't, it was sort of to get people thinking about, like, where could our athletic apparel or any apparel be 20 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And it was sort of this woman woke up from bed and just kind of was like, toot, 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 and her clothes changed colors and she was able to go for a run. And we're not quite there yet on that type of suit. But right now, the biggest, hottest topic around from a technology standpoint is probably our connected. Well, we have a whole connected fitness office. So
what is connected fitness?
Yeah.
A few years ago, Under Armour made its first acquisition, which was Map My Fitness, Map My Run.
Yep.
Those apps.
Walmart bought them.
Huh?
You said Walmart bought what? Walmart bought them?
No, Under Armour.
Oh, Under Armour. Okay, that's very cool. I did not know that. Nice.
Yep. So it was our first acquisition.
Wow.
It was a very smart, techie.
Yep. Very smart. Very smart.
They were based down in Houston, so we opened an office down in Houston and kept a lot of the original team who was on the app and brought them in to the Under Armour.
You're an apparel company. You just acquire a tech company. It's not like you're going to get rid of those employees.
Right.
Do you know how long ago that was, Shannon?
I want to say 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
About 3 or 4 years ago now.
Gotcha.
There were a couple other apps around that time we acquired. Edimondo, they weren't as big of a one, but yeah, we Kevin Plank and Under Armour had a vision to be on, the edge of the next big thing, and that's how Under Armour started, was an innovative t-shirt with that compression. So that's always been in our DNA. The Connected Fitness office, currently a lot of the stuff they're working on is syncing everything in such a way that you don't even have to go for a run with your phone. So we have sort of like a Fitbit. We have like a UA band now.
Oh, you do?
Which also comes with like a heart rate strap and a scale. It's called like UA Health Box, and all of them sync together Wi-Fi and track just all your health stats day to day. Our coolest shoe out right now, our latest running shoe called the Hover, HOVR, has a chip in it actually now, the Hover Connected.
Whoa.
And you don't even have to take your phone with you. Like, it doesn't even have to be within feet. You just go for a run, you go home, and you go into the app and download all the chip.
Oh, you download. I was going to say, because typically you need like some type of Bluetooth device and your phone with you while you're running.
Right. It'll just download in, and I'm not a huge runner, but from a true, someone training for a marathon or even a 5K or just trying to get better, I mean, it goes into everything from not just what your splits were or what your pace was or what your mile time was, but what's your stride length and how can you optimize your, your run essentially to make it the most impactful.
I appreciate that new term, connected fitness, because that makes so much sense. I mean, if we're thinking, because I've done marathons before, and like when you do it, they give you like a clip to attach to your shoestrings, and it's like independent. So I could see like something where they create the shoe or anything, and they just sell that as one unit, one package, so that it always has it everywhere you go. And you can track your steps, you could track the weather, you could track where you go, and it could figure out how to optimize your walking routes. I mean, there's so much that can be done with that. That's really fascinating.
And the cool thing is with all the recent developments in tech, it's not that much more expensive to do shit like this anymore.
No, not at all.
That has a connected version with a chip in it and a non-connected version if you don't care, and the price point's
pretty much the same.
Fact check, but 20 to $40. Yeah. So it's not like you're having to pay an arm and a leg for this sort of tech anymore.
Interesting.
So let's if you can give us some insight on the vision, the next step of Under Armour, and how prevalent tech will be a part of that. I mean, are you really trying to integrate that more? Are you guys working on new wave type of technology with T-shirts that can cool you down when it's hot out? Who knows? Or like a jacket that heats up inside, shit like that. How much of the tech are you integrating in the company, and what are the next steps? Or are you guys like, going to go back down to grassroots and do, strictly clothes and stay there? Or?
Yeah, no. So it's a good question because it's been this year we've kind of
your track UA stock, Jeremy?
Yeah, I was going to ask her. That's on my list. Don't worry.
Right.
Keep going with that conversation, and we're chatting stock before we get off. Yeah. You messed it up, Brian.
So sorry. So we've taken a step back this year as a company and really thought about what's our mission, what's our vision, because right now we were talking about it last night. You're seeing Adidas, Fila, Puma, Reebok, all these retro brands start to come up and really build into this athleisure space.
Athleisure. I mean, it's a fashion statement.
It's going. I mean, Carrie Underwood with Kalia, Kate Hudson with Fabletics.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get in on this athletic apparel industry now, and they think they can do it, and they want to make it fashionable, and they want, clothes to wear to and from the gym and everything. Under Armour has played in that space for sure, and has certainly made that lifestyle type apparel. But we sort of took a step back this year and said, who are we? Who is our true consumer? And we're defining our consumer as a true focused performer. So this isn't just someone who wears leggings to work because they're comfortable.
Pro athletes.
No, not pro athletes. This is someone.
But someone who's specifically focused on.
It's kind of two accesses. If you look at it this way, it's sort of what is your level of physical activity?
Right.
What are you actually doing on a weekly, daily, whatever basis? And then the more interesting piece is on a sliding scale, just in general in your life, how competitive of a person are you? Like, do you go to work and just kind of breeze through and do the bare minimum just to get it done? Or are you going in to like get it done every day and get to the next level and you want to like always be the best?
What's insane is the amount of data that you guys are taking in, and you started by making t-shirts. And now you're just like, okay, now we really need to think about is this person going to the gym? How much time are they spending in the gym? And you're thinking all of that and trying to really steer your ship in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. And where I was kind of, to answer your question, the focused performer is always looking for that edge and for that next thing that's going to make them better than the other athlete. And a lot of that today is in that tech space and how you can
measure.
How you can measure stuff. I still think there's work to be done in just the shoes and the shirts as well.
Yeah.
I mentioned Hover earlier, but that was by far our best, most innovative running shoe to date. And I think it's doing well in the market too, so it's showing.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to take there's no plan to slow down the connected fitness piece of things. I think it's just figuring out where it'll be most impactful and where it's going to ultimately benefit the athlete.
So, I know we were just came into this talking about supply chain, but it's really turning into like a sports tech talk, right? And you think about the NFL and the microphones and all the shit in the helmets, and the tech in sports does innovate, and technology in sports allows for that competitive edge. It advances it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know entertainment and the sports industry is huge from a capital standpoint. What is Under Armour's relationship with the professional sports world right now? What is that like? Yeah,
so we have a number of assets, influencers that are pro athletes that are signed on with Under Armour. The big three, if you want to call it, like your NBA, NFL, MLB.
Yeah.
It's always been a little different. So if you remember when we were kids, the Cleveland Browns were sponsored by Puma.
Yeah.
But not every team was Puma. It was kind of up to the team.
Right.
That's not the case anymore. The
whole league.
NFL has a contract with Nike. Nike supplies the uniforms. Same with NHL. I believe NHL is Adidas.
I think NHL is Reebok.
Maybe Reebok.
It's Reebok.
But so we go after big assets and people that, if you look at who our end consumer is looking to,
it's a marketing play
to influence their buying.
Dude,
that Bryce Harper, Michael Phelps.
Yeah. You know how much technology's in golf?
Oh, so much.
Jordan
my
Spieth
gosh.
is one of our number one assets.
Yeah.
Huge.
That's insane.
That is incredible.
I will say the one, just an interesting nugget. The asset of ours who can move product like no other is The Rock.
The Rock?
The Rock is
of course. Yep.
Wow.
You put something of his online in a store.
Wow.
It goes like that.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson has a massive following, and they are loyal.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, it's worldwide.
If you want someone else, I'm sure you know this already, Shannon, but Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe.
Hunting huge.
Well, yeah, but Joe Rogan is I forget who mentioned this, but they said that he is one of the most underrated influencers on the planet Earth.
The guy has millions of people listening to his podcast every day.
Well, it's not the amount of people though, because there's other people that have more followers, but Joe Rogan has a very specific targeted audience. And so when he says something, his whole crowd's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love the guy.
So I don't know Joe Rogan. I probably should.
He's a podcast guy. He's big into the MMA.
Yeah, he does UFC announcing. He's one of the he's a stand-up comedian. He has his own podcast, but he makes most of his money from the MMA just announcing. And that's how he got famous. But yeah, he's I'm telling you, he's an underground. A lot of people know him. But man, He's athletic too. He goes running a lot and things like that. I think he's wide open for an endorsement. But anyway,
let me ask you this: who do you think would be the female counterpart to The Rock?
Phenomenal question. Jennifer Lawrence.
Conversation at work. Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
What? Who's that?
That's the Hunger Games girl, right?
Oh,
yeah.
I would think like a Hope Solo or someone.
Ooh, bad press. Solo.
Yeah, I mean, no. Well, the thing is, so Dwayne The Rock Johnson, yes, he does do, he does do sports, yes, but that's like he's not an athlete. I would argue. I mean, he is, but he's not a professional athlete. But Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, she's in the Hunger Games. She's one of the biggest female actresses in the world, I would argue. She's a great character, very open, very specific.
Yeah, she's very relatable.
If not her, maybe Demi Lovato, or is crazy.
She's signed on with Fabletics, Kate Hudson.
Okay. So either her, but and as crazy as it sounds, Kylie Jenner. I mean, the thing
was she on the cover of Forbes?
Dude, you can't argue with statistics.
Yep.
I'm not. Speaking of statistics, I want to hear the stock question you're going to.
Yes. Thank goodness. Okay. So, Shannon, do you get stock for your participation on Armour?
I purchased stock.
You purchase? Okay. Do they give you to like as an employee, or do you just have to purchase it as like a plan?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But you plan on at least having some in the future, right?
She has some. She's bought some.
Yes. Good. Oh yeah, I'm in a good spot.
Perfect.
She's not a trader, Jeremy. So
that's fine. Keep buying it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Buy it real heavy right now. It's
And Jeremy doesn't like look for the insider type stuff. He's a chart wizard. He studies the charts. He looks at the trends.
Well, I need just a little like 101 because I would love to learn more about. Like I buy it, it just comes out of my paycheck every week, but I don't really know what anything means.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is the reason I was asking about the acquisition is because I remember. So this was. I'll pull it up. You guys won't be able to see it. I'm just going to pull it up on my screen to verify. But I'm pretty sure it was 2016 when Under Armour stock just got absolutely obliterated, and it went down like 75% in that year. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? What was happening in the company during that time?
Yeah, so when I came on in 2012, we were on a hot streak,
tearing it up,
of about I want to say 20 consecutive quarters of 20% plus growth.
Damn!
Wow.
It was incredible to be there. It was the energy, we were just
killing it.
And like all companies, you need to learn how to scale and learn how to temper that. And 2016 was the year we finally kind of, lost that streak. Didn't have 20% growth.
Yeah.
Went a little bit more flat, and yeah, I think it was just we've done a good job of telling the story to the shareholders and the investors, and they've stuck with us through it, which has been good. And I think we have a solid plan to start to get back to a more scalable growth into 2019.
Well, the thing is, I mean, all companies are going to have ebbs and flows. I mean, you go to Apple, you go to Amazon. I mean, Amazon in 2000 lost 95% of its value in a stock. I mean,
.com, baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about huge companies. All these companies have these growth cycles where they're hot, and when they're really, 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 really hot, it's bound to happen when we have those corrections in either prices, but even just that momentum, like you said, it was on fire. Everybody was excited. Yep. That can only last so long. I mean, if we go back to like an athlete can only run so long or be energetic so long or have energy or stay awake. I mean, at some point they have to peak and they have to rest. I mean, Michael Phelps, he can only swim theoretically so far, kind of thing. So,
and I think Plank, our CEO, did a good job of recognizing, when we had that need for someone with a little bit more expertise in that area. Mm-hmm. And he last year brought on Patrick Frisk, who before Under Armour was the CEO of Aldo, the footwear company.
Yep.
And he's just been incredible.
I wonder if he's related to the Frisk family in Tennessee.
He's European.
Oh, then probably not.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Probably, yeah. Not
so what are you seeing on the chart that indicates growth, or you're holding on to it?
I can't. I want to see if I can share my screen. I'm pretty sure I can. Let me figure out how to do that. How do I share my screen?
I think
meeting details. No. I mean, I'll just show it to you guys later. I'll send you an email or something. But I mean, bottom line, it does this. So from 2009 to 2015, it pretty much does this, like straight up. 2015 starts getting a little wobbly, and then 2016, and so so the actual price itself, it goes from 2013, Under Armour was at $12 a share, and then it goes to $50, right? So that's a 400% growth. What's
Damn.
that? Yeah, a little over 50. And then guess where Under Armour went back to just
12.
2 months ago? $12. And so from there, so it goes from 12, and now we're back up to 21. So that that bounce that you experience, it's a healthy move, because in 2009 Under Armour was at $2 a share. Yeah. So when you have that, okay, from 2 to 50, but 50 to 12, I mean, I know that sounds like massive, but it is 70, 75%. But it's still within that range of, okay, and then it bounces and makes a higher high. So it's, to me, just looking at the chart overall in the company, you can assess a lot company growth by Under Armour, by their stock. And I think Under Armour is going to have their most important aspect, like you mentioned, are finding younger athletes and grooming them and helping them and kind of putting them to like a mentorship program through certain type of clothing aspects. Like, okay, hey, this helps you measure this helps you measure this. Finding young athletes and being with them their entire life, sponsorships, helping them, and then when they become phenomenal, they tell a story about Under Armour and how Under Armour's there, and bam, that's the catapult, that's the catalyst. That's what Nike did for Jordan.
You got it. I mean, we have UA Next, which is a whole campaign around the next generation.
Yep.
Targets that younger generation.
Exactly, and that was such a smart move for that to happen.
They do workouts.
So this is pretty cool. Tell them about the campus, because I've been there. It's pretty sweet. You guys talk about the secret chambers and dude, it's an old factory, right? It's in Baltimore. They have turf fields and
one of my favorite cities. I love Baltimore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Dude, it's crazy.
So most people with Baltimore probably know the iconic Domino Sugar sign.
Yep.
Big neon sign. So we are right next to them.
Okay.
Old soap factory?
It used to be a Procter & Gamble factory, and it's where they made all of their dish soap. So all of our buildings on main campus, the names of them are Tide, Cascade, Cheer, Joy.
What building are you in?
I'm in Cheer.
Cheer
building. So it's cool. There's a lot of the old Procter & Gamble history still on the walls and things like that. So this has been our home since I was there in 2012. But we've actually outgrown that space as well. And I mean, the awesome part about it, to Brian's point, is we're right on the water. We're downtown Baltimore. Most people take the water taxi to work every day, which is a big pontoon boat, up to the turf field. But we're landlocked.
Okay.
And Plank didn't want to be the guy to go to our neighbors and say, we're going to buy you out. We're going to kick you out of our neighborhood to expand. So he started looking around Baltimore over the course of several years and started buying up property.
Real estate, baby.
Yep.
And so we've moved about a half-mile down the road, bought a ton of land in what's called the Port Covington area. This is also where some of the footwear manufacturing is going to happen as well. Okay. But I mean, that's my cheer building. The old P&G building looks like a trailer park compared to this new building.
Well, talk about so I remember specifically. I keep going back to it. There was some secret room that I couldn't go in.
The innovation lab.
There you go.
You walk down the hall and there's these sliding doors that open and close very quickly.
Dude, it's futuristic.
Very futuristic. It's where they test all sorts of stuff. Sunglasses.
Oh wow! Yeah,
the speed skating suits for the Olympic team this past year.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We had a pretty good showing in the last Olympics, and a lot of that technology and everything gets tested.
That's insane. If you look back, just that, even the Greek Olympics, but now again that technology is so prevalent in sports. How can we make the suits more aerodynamic? How can we make the equipment more efficient? Mm-hmm. That's nuts.
That is
and
nuts.
I think it's smart that you guys started. You started as an apparel company, but you understood the importance of that, and you're accommodating that in your business model.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that a lot of people forget when they compare us to the Nikes and the Adis and the Reeboks of the world is all of those other athletic brands were footwear companies first.
Yep.
And then were successful and figured that out, and then kind of branched out and started throwing their logo on apparel and accessories, which are a lot easier to manufacture. Whereas, we got got that apparel piece down in 1996 is when we started. We didn't do footwear until 2006.
Yeah, it was earlier. Yeah.
And even then, it was just cleats, cleats.
Yep.
It took a few more years to get running and training and everything.
Interesting.
I mean, if you think about it, you guys really did innovate the sports game, because I remember my first Under Armour shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And
the mock turtleneck, everyone.
Yeah, it was just like to keep you warm and everything, but you incorporated that spandex and like it was just, it's never been seen before. It was just standard cotton, but then Under Armour came out with this revolutionary new apparel, and then you saw replication from the competitors. So how do you guys think you're staying in front of the curve? Like, can you divulge any information of things that you guys are working on? Is there something that's coming up in the next couple of years or in the next year that is really going to put Under Armour on the map? Take the marketing out of it. Like, you have the cornerstone of the business, but what is the next big thing that Under Armour is going to be doing?
This is probably a bit of a boring answer, but I think what's going to be key for us in the next 2 to 5 years is simplifying and getting better at what we've always done best.
Yeah.
We got real branched out into a lot of different spaces, into this athleisure world. And now that we have this focused performer consumer dialed in, I think it's going to be all about, kind of back to supply chain.
Yeah.
One of the things we're working on is just cutting SKU count. The more SKUs you have, the more complicated everything is to manage.
Yeah.
The more.
That's like the barcode.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think that's smart, because you do want exclusivity in any business to an extent. I mean, the way Apple did it with the PC, I mean, you have, I say the PC, the computer, you have all these PC brands, but Apple was like, no. We're going to keep our price high. You cannot sell it for a discount. Only these stores can sell. And that's it. Like, I don't believe Apple does Walmart. There's only certain stores you can buy Apple in at all. And they do not do discounts. And like, they go, hey, here's the price. But what they did is they said, okay, we know our target market because they're the ones they're going to buy. And I think if Under Armour really does have
product.
Exactly. And if they really do focus in
for supply chain specifically, every year there's a company that publishes out, it's called Gartner's Top 25.
Okay.
You ever heard of it? You can Google it. But they're a very heavy supply chain analytics company, and they basically publish a list of the top 25 companies with the best, most efficient supply chains in the world.
Are you guys on that list?
Oh, this is all industries.
Okay.
So I think Nike may be on it.
Okay.
But that would be the only real competitor of ours. But Apple's always at the top of the list. Top of the list, I think, for several years running, is Walmart.
Yeah, that's how they keep their prices so cheap. I mean, the thing is, they aren't competing on products. They are competing on, as Shannon mentioned earlier, supply chain management. If you can figure that out, you can run just about any business, because you got to get parts from place to place. If it's a physical product,
Right.
They turn. So when you start talking inventory turn, how many times per year you basically sell through all of your inventory and replenish it.
Yeah.
So you own a used car lot, you have 10 cars on it, you sell 10, you get 10 new ones in. That's one turn a year. Walmart has some crazy number, I want to say, and fact check me on this, but something close to between 20 and 30 turns a year.
No way.
They have a product.
Wow.
They have something figured out.
Holy smokes.
I mean, they've been around for a while, though. They've had time to learn the process, let the process mature, sharpen it, make it very simple and clean. And I think Under Armour, just outside eye looking in, is at a stage where you're at the maturity point where you were in the adolescence business phase. You experienced great growth. You did well. You retracted a little bit, maybe a reality check, but now you're in a position where, and I think it's to go back to what you said, you guys are keeping it simple and really cutting SKUs and whatnot. Doing that will allow for you guys to grow, mature in a proper, steady way versus some accelerated growth and decline and trying to innovate and do new things all the time. So I think that's great. But for our viewers out there, how important will supply chain be in the future for Under Armour? I mean, are you putting tailored things together that allows for you guys to again hit that maturity level, or is it just like, oh yeah, that's a supply chain, I just gotta manage it and sit back and relax?
Oh, no. So this is where it gets fun. You keep asking about innovations and what's the next big thing in the products we're making. What you should be asking is what's the next big thing in innovation in supply chain?
Yeah.
Well, you know what blockchain is? Have you heard blockchain on Under Armour? In your offices, have you heard anyone talk about blockchain?
I don't think so. Bitcoin gets talked about a bit.
Nah, that's a fad.
But yeah, no. But you know, in a nutshell, because we didn't talk about it a ton, but the supply chain in 10 seconds is you source the goods, you build it at the factory, you put it on a boat and bring it to America. It gets to the port. We take ownership of it as Under Armour and bring it into our distribution centers.
Yep.
Wait for the customer to say what they want. We pick, pack it, process it, put it on a truck, ship it to the customer. Another option that we already have in place and we're continuing to grow, and is going to be interesting to see how Amazon plays into this, because their business model is very different than our other strategic customers, like exporting goods or Academy. Is there's lots of different things called direct ship. So options where, all right, how about instead of bringing it to the port, bringing it to our DC, shipping it to their DC, then shipping it to their stores, distribution center. Why can't Amazon just take ownership of it at the port?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, or even overseas. So then you get into things with partnerships with your vendors like VAS and value-added services. So the reason we pick pack for exporting goods is because they tell us, hey, this T-shirt's going to be hung, so I want you to hang it for me. And we say, okay, we'll hang it for you. Let's take our people out of that, our labor costs out of that, and say, hey, you guys over at the vendor, how about you guys hang it for me?
Yeah.
Put it in the size run they want, put it in a box, and give it right to exporting goods.
I mean, yeah, you're not a logistics company. You're a sports company, apparel company. Mm-hmm. But that element is so important. So is that what what you're saying is that in the innovation of the supply chain, you're going to start cutting those steps or making others take on the onus of whatever that responsibility is in the supply chain. So essentially you're making more efficient time or efficiency of your time managing and tracking that whole product lifestyle like you talked about.
Yeah, it's all about speed and flexibility. And then, of course, who's going to pay for it?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the big question. Well, I learned a lot. This is, wow. Believe it or not, that was 43 minutes. Like, that's how much time just went by. That was incredible.
Great.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting you this way, Shannon. And this is the first time ever that we've had a family member on the show.
Family member, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you in Nashville, maybe.
Soon. Yeah. Whenever you come down here, I'm sure I'll be down here. But Brian, thanks for making this happen, and Shannon, it was an honor to meet you.
Good conversation.
Yeah, you too. Nice meeting you.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye.